5 foods that help fight against cancer and repair the body. When it comes to understanding what significantly influences a person's likelihood of developing cancer, let's put aside genetics and family history for a moment. The most crucial factor is actually what's happening within your body at this very instant. Tiny, microscopic cancers are already forming inside you, not just possibly forming, but actively forming. Every single person watching this has them. However, what most people don't grasp is that whether these microscopic cancers ever grow into something dangerous is determined by 3 key aspects that your body itself controls. These are your immune system's capability to detect and eliminate them, your blood vessel system's decision on whether to nourish them, and your body's overall inflammatory state, which can either suppress them or fuel their growth. Hello, I'm Dr. Becker. My background is in emergency medicine and cancer research. For almost 3 decades, I've dedicated myself to studying how the human body combats diseases. During this time, I've witnessed firsthand what occurs when these natural defense mechanisms falter, leading to the development of cancers that could have potentially been prevented. Yet, I've also observed something truly remarkable. Specific foods, consumed in precise quantities, have the power to invigorate these defense systems. Even in individuals over 60, and even in those who have already received a cancer diagnosis. In this video, I'm going to introduce you to 5 specific foods that clinical studies have definitively shown can fight cancer at the cellular level. We will delve into how each of these foods works through various mechanisms to starve tumors, bolster your immune defenses, and aid in the repair of damaged tissues. Most importantly, I will provide you with the exact amounts that researchers have used in human trials. These are not guesses, but actual dosages that have proven effective in real people. Before we continue, a quick favor. I often hear from viewers who have watched several of my videos but haven't yet subscribed. Could you please take a moment to check if you're subscribed? It's completely free, takes only a couple of seconds, and it significantly helps this channel reach more people who can greatly benefit from this vital information. Now let's talk about something most people are unaware of. At any given moment, your body harbors thousands of microscopic cancers. This isn't a theory, it's a scientifically established fact. When researchers conduct autopsies on individuals who have passed away from accidents, meaning they had no prior cancer diagnosis or symptoms, they frequently discover microscopic clusters of cancer cells. For example, around 40% of women in their 40s are found to have microscopic breast cancer, 50% of men in their 50s have microscopic prostate cancer, and 70% of people in their 70s have microscopic thyroid cancer. Yet, these microscopic formations never progress to become clinical cancer. Why is this? Because your body possesses 3 sophisticated defense systems that keep them in check. The first of these is your immune system. Your body is equipped with specialized cells, such as natural killer cells, T cells, and macrophages. These cells tirelessly patrol your body around the clock, actively searching for any abnormal cells. Upon identifying a microscopic cancer, they swiftly eliminate it. This process occurs thousands of times throughout your life, often without you ever being aware of it. Think of it like the security guards in a large building. They are constantly monitoring every room and every floor. The instant they spot an unauthorized individual, they remove them. Your immune system operates with a similar level of constant vigilance. The second line of defense involves controlling inflammation. Now, inflammation itself isn't inherently bad. In fact, it's beneficial when you injure yourself, like cutting your finger. It's your immune system rushing to the site to prevent infection and initiate the healing process. However, chronic inflammation is a different matter entirely. It's akin to having a small, persistent fire burning within your body. This constant low-grade fire releases chemical signals that encourage cells to grow and divide more rapidly, overriding the normal signals that tell them to stop. Microscopic cancers thrive in an inflamed environment. It's like pouring fuel on a campfire. If you can effectively manage and keep inflammation low, those microscopic cancers will remain dormant and unable to grow. Conversely, if inflammation runs unchecked, those cancers receive the signal to proliferate. This is precisely why individuals with chronic inflammatory conditions often have higher rates of cancer. It's not the disease itself directly causing the cancer, but rather the inflammatory environment it creates, which essentially gives cancers permission to expand. The third defense mechanism, and this is one that very few people have encountered, is known as angiogenesis. Every single cell in your body requires oxygen and nutrients, which are delivered by your blood vessels. Your organs are intricately laced with tiny blood vessels that supply everything cells need to survive. Here's where it gets fascinating. Microscopic cancers, those minuscule clusters of abnormal cells, are incapable of developing their own blood vessels. They are simply too small. A cancer cannot grow larger than approximately 2 millimeters, about the size of the tip of a ballpoint pen, without a blood supply. At this size, it reaches a natural limit and stops growing, remaining harmless. However, if a cancer manages to trick your body into growing new blood vessels towards it, everything changes dramatically. Once blood vessels reach a nascent tumor and begin supplying it with oxygen and nutrients, that tumor can expand by an astonishing 16,000 times in just 2 weeks. That's the vast difference between an insignificant speck and a life-threatening mass. The process by which new blood vessels are formed is called angiogenesis. This is a normal and essential process for healing wounds. But when cancers exploit this mechanism, that's when they become a serious threat. Your body has the innate ability to refuse a cancer's plea for blood vessels. When your body's anti-angiogenic defenses are robust, these new blood vessels simply do not grow, and the cancer remains microscopic and harmless indefinitely. When these defenses are weak, however, blood vessels proliferate, the cancer rapidly increases in size, and this is when it is typically diagnosed. So, how exactly do foods help activate these 3 crucial defense systems? Let me break down the science behind this, and I'll provide you with the specific amounts and recommended preparations. The first food I want to highlight is green tea, and it's important to understand why it's so potent. Green tea contains compounds called catechins, with one in particular, EGCG, epigallocatechin gallate, being exceptionally powerful. You don't need to memorize the name, but you do need to understand its function. I have personally studied this compound in laboratory settings for years. It's a naturally occurring chemical found in tea leaves. When you brew a cup of tea, the EGCG dissolves into the water. Whether you use tea bags, loose leaves, or matcha powder, you are incorporating this beneficial compound into your drink. Now, what does EGCG actually do in your body? It performs 3 critical functions. Firstly, it significantly reduces inflammation. Researchers at the University of California measured various inflammatory markers in individuals before and after they consumed green tea for 8 weeks. They observed remarkable reductions, between 30% and 50%, in key inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein, interleukin-6, and tumor necrosis factor alpha. This level of reduction, comparable to pharmaceutical interventions, is achieved simply by drinking a beverage. Secondly, EGCG enhances your immune system, specifically by boosting the activity of natural killer cells. A study conducted at Brigham Young University provided older adults with 3 cups of green tea daily for 3 months. At the conclusion of the study, they measured the function of their natural killer cells, finding a notable increase of 47%. This meant these cells were nearly 50% more effective at identifying and destroying abnormal cells, including cancer cells. Thirdly, and this is a mechanism I find particularly astonishing, EGCG disrupts the blood supply to tumors. It acts as an anti-angiogenic agent. In laboratory experiments, when tumors are exposed to EGCG, they are unable to recruit new blood vessels, which keeps them small. In studies involving animals, tumors in mice that received green tea extract grew 60% slower compared to those given plain water. However, it's the human studies that hold the most weight. Researchers in Japan followed over 8,000 individuals for a decade, comparing those who drank 5 or more cups of green tea daily with those who consumed less than 1 cup. The results showed that the heavy tea drinkers had significantly lower rates of colon cancer, 40% lower, stomach cancer, 30% lower, and esophageal cancer, 50% lower. The impact on digestive cancers is particularly pronounced because, as you sip green tea, it travels through your entire digestive tract, from your mouth down to your esophagus, into your stomach, and through your intestines. Every surface it touches is exposed to these beneficial catechins, effectively coating your digestive system with a protective layer. Now, how you prepare green tea is important because most people do it incorrectly. Never pour boiling water directly onto tea leaves or tea bags. This excessively hot water can actually damage the catechins you're trying to extract. Even more concerning, drinking liquids at such high temperatures has been linked to an increased risk of esophageal cancer due to the potential injury to delicate tissues. Here's the correct method. Heat your water until it's hot but not boiling, around 175 degrees, 79 degrees. If you don't have a thermometer, bring the water to a boil and then let it sit for about 3 minutes. Then pour this water over your tea and let it steep for 5 minutes. This process serves two purposes. It allows sufficient time for the catechins to dissolve into the water, and it brings the temperature down to a safe level for drinking. If you're using tea bags, gently agitate them repeatedly during those 5 minutes. This physical action helps to release more catechins from the leaves. Based on multiple studies, the effective daily dose is 2 to 3 cups. This should be consumed regularly, not just occasionally. For maximum benefit, consider using matcha powder. Matcha is made from finely ground whole tea leaves, meaning when you drink matcha, you're consuming the entire leaf, not just what dissolves in water. 1 cup of matcha can provide the catechin content of approximately 10 cups of regular green tea. The recommended effective dose for matcha is 1 teaspoon of powder whisked into hot water, consumed once daily. The second food group I want to discuss is broccoli and other cruciferous vegetables. This family includes cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, kale, and cabbage. What makes these vegetables so special is a group of compounds called sulforaphanes. These are sulfur-containing molecules that contribute to the distinctive smell of cruciferous vegetables when they are cooked. While some people may not enjoy that aroma, those sulfur compounds are essentially medicinal. Sulforaphane performs 3 key functions in your body. First, it powerfully activates your immune system. Research indicates that it promotes the production and activity of natural killer cells and T cells. Second, it is exceptionally anti-inflammatory. It achieves this by activating a genetic pathway known as NRF2, which essentially signals your body to produce its own antioxidants. Instead of relying on external antioxidant supplements, sulforaphane prompts your own cells to generate their antioxidants, which are far more potent. Third, sulforaphane is anti-angiogenic, meaning it helps prevent tumors from developing new blood vessels to feed themselves. Now, here's a detail about broccoli that many people overlook, the part we commonly eat. The florets do contain sulforaphane, but the stalk actually contains twice as much. Most people discard the stalk or leave it on their plate, which is a missed opportunity. The stalk is where a concentrated dose of this beneficial compound resides. If you find the stalk's texture a bit tough, there are simple ways to address this. Slicing the stalk diagonally can increase its surface area, allowing it to cook faster and become tender. Alternatively, you can chop the stalk and blend it into soups. A delicious broccoli soup made with the stalks, onions, garlic, vegetable broth, and a hint of oregano is packed with sulforaphane. I have that recipe available if you're interested. The recommended effective dose based on studies is about 1 cup of chopped broccoli daily, and this should ideally include the stalk. Now, for something even more potent, broccoli sprouts. These are essentially 3-day-old broccoli plants grown from seeds. They resemble alfalfa sprouts with thin white stems and small green leaves. These sprouts contain an astonishing 100 times more sulforaphane than mature broccoli. The reason for this concentration is that the plant is born with all the sulforaphane it will ever possess. As it matures into a larger plant, This sulforaphane gets distributed throughout its structure. The sprout, however, represents a highly concentrated form of this beneficial compound. A study conducted at Johns Hopkins University provided individuals with a high risk of cancer with 2 ounces of broccoli sprouts daily, which is roughly half a cup. After 3 months, they measured cancer biomarkers in the participants' blood and urine, and these markers had decreased by 60%. Furthermore, the researchers found that the sprouts activated over 200 cancer-fighting genes. Imagine 200 genes turned on simply by eating sprouts. You can purchase broccoli sprouts at health food stores or even grow them yourself at home. All you need are broccoli sprouting seeds, a mason jar, and about 3 days. Place 2 tablespoons of seeds in the jar, cover them with water overnight, and then drain and rinse them twice daily. By the 3rd day, you'll have your sprouts. This is an incredibly cost-effective way to obtain potent cancer-fighting benefits. The 3rd food is papaya, and this often surprises people because tropical fruits aren't typically thought of as medicine. Papaya is an oblong fruit roughly the size of a football. When ripe, you cut it in half, scoop out the black seeds, and the flesh is a vibrant orange, soft and sweet. That distinctive orange color comes from carotenoids, specifically beta-cryptoxanthin. This compound is not only anti-inflammatory and anti-angiogenic, but also has a specific beneficial effect on lung tissue. Numerous studies have indicated that individuals who consume high amounts of beta-cryptoxanthin experience significantly lower rates of lung cancer. A Harvard study that followed over 70,000 women for 18 years tracked their dietary habits and cancer incidence. The women in the group with the highest intake of beta-cryptoxanthin had a 31% lower risk of developing lung cancer compared to those in the lowest intake group. This protective effect was observed even in women who had smoked in the past, demonstrating that its protective action is independent of smoking status. How does it work? Beta-cryptoxanthin accumulates in lung tissue. When you eat papaya, these carotenoids are absorbed, enter your bloodstream, and preferentially concentrate in your lungs. There, they work to reduce inflammation and inhibit the growth of blood vessels that tumors rely on. The effective daily dose, according to studies, is about 1 cup of fresh papaya, or 1.5 cups of frozen papaya chunks. Now, a word of caution regarding fruit sugar. Some individuals avoid fruit due to the misconception that sugar fuels cancer. This is a dangerous oversimplification. While cancer cells do utilize glucose for energy, so do all of your body's cells. Your brain functions on glucose, and your muscles use glucose. The issue isn't glucose itself, but rather the excessive insulin spikes caused by consuming too much sugar and refined carbohydrates. Fruit contains natural sugars, but crucially, it is packaged with fiber, vitamins, and antioxidants. In the case of papaya, it also contains potent anti-cancer compounds. The fiber present in whole fruit slows down sugar absorption, preventing the dramatic insulin spikes you would experience from drinking fruit juice or consuming processed sugars. Studies comparing individuals who eat whole fruit daily with those who avoid it consistently show that fruit eaters have lower overall cancer rates. Therefore, it is beneficial to eat papaya, berries, and other whole fruits. Avoid fruit juice, which has had its fiber removed and has been concentrated into liquid sugar. Whole fruit, on the other hand, is protective. If you are concerned about blood sugar levels, it's advisable to consume fruit earlier in the day when your insulin sensitivity is typically highest, and to pair it with a small amount of protein or healthy fats to further slow sugar absorption. The 4th food I want to introduce is purple potatoes. If you haven't encountered them before, you're in for a visual treat. Purple potatoes have an intriguing exterior with a purplish skin, but when you cut them open, their flesh is a deep, almost violet hue. This striking color is due to the presence of anthocyanins, the same antioxidant, compounds that give blueberries their blue color and red cabbage its red hue. These are powerful antioxidants and anti-inflammatory agents. Purple potatoes have been specifically investigated for their anti-cancer properties, and the results are quite remarkable. Researchers at Penn State University administered purple potato extract to laboratory animals, and the tumors in these animals grew 65% slower compared to those in animals that received regular white potato extract. Upon analyzing the underlying mechanisms, they discovered that anthocyanins were performing two crucial functions. They were cutting off the blood supply to tumors, a classic anti-angiogenic effect, and they were actively killing cancer stem cells. Let me explain the significance of cancer stem cells, as this is a critical concept. When someone undergoes cancer treatment, such as surgery, chemotherapy, or radiation, the primary goal is to eliminate all cancer cells. Often, the tumor shrinks or disappears entirely, and the individual is declared cancer-free. However, sometimes years later, the cancer returns. This recurrence is frequently due to cancer stem cells. These represent a small subpopulation of cells within a tumor that have the ability to regenerate the entire tumor. Think of them like the seeds of a dandelion. You can cut down the visible plant, remove all the growth above ground, but if the roots and seeds remain, it will inevitably grow back. Cancer stem cells are those persistent roots. Most chemotherapy treatments are effective at killing the bulk of cancer cells, but often fail to eradicate these resilient stem cells. Purple potatoes, specifically the anthocyanins they contain, have been shown to effectively kill cancer stem cells, particularly in the context of colon cancer. A study at Ohio State University exposed colon cancer stem cells to purple potato extract. The extract successfully eliminated the stem cells while leaving normal colon cells unharmed. This is known as selective toxicity, precisely what we aim for in cancer treatment, targeting and destroying cancer cells while preserving healthy ones. How should you prepare purple potatoes? You can cook them in any way you would prepare regular potatoes: baking, steaming, roasting, or sautéing. I particularly enjoy making a purple potato soup. Simply dice the potatoes, sauté them with onions and garlic, add vegetable broth, simmer until tender, and then blend. The resulting soup has a stunning, deep purple color and is incredibly rich in anthocyanins. Here's a practical tip. After cooking potatoes, allow them to cool completely, then refrigerate them. This process creates something called resistant starch. The starch molecules rearrange as they cool and become more resistant to digestion. This has two beneficial effects. It leads to a smaller blood sugar spike when you consume them, and it serves as food for your beneficial gut bacteria. Your gut bacteria ferment resistant starch and produce short-chain fatty acids, which can reduce inflammation throughout your body. Therefore, cooked and cooled purple potatoes offer you anti-cancer anthocyanins, plus resistant starch that nourishes healthy gut bacteria, leading to reduced inflammation and a decreased risk of cancer. It's a cascade of advantages. The recommended effective dose is about 1 medium purple potato daily, or 1 cup of diced purple potatoes consumed several times per week. The fifth food on our list is pomegranate. This fruit has a long history of medicinal use, spanning thousands of years. Pomegranates are roughly the size of a large apple, featuring a thick, leathery skin and a distinctive crown at the top. When you cut one open, it's filled with hundreds of seeds, each encased in a small sac of deep red juice. These seeds have a jewel-like appearance. The flavor is a unique blend of sweet and tart, making it truly delicious. Pomegranates contain a class of compounds called elegitannins. These are large, complex molecules that give pomegranates their vibrant color and tartness. When you consume pomegranate or its juice, the elegitannins travel down to your colon, where your gut bacteria break them down into smaller compounds called urolithins. It's these urolithins that deliver the majority of the health benefits. Elegitannins and urolithins perform several key functions. Firstly, they are powerfully anti-angiogenic, meaning they prevent tumors from developing new blood vessels. A study conducted at UCLA gave pomegranate juice to men with prostate cancer whose PSA, prostate-specific antigen levels, were rising after treatment. A rising PSA level typically indicates that the cancer is becoming active again. These men drank 8 ounces of pomegranate juice daily. Researchers tracked their PSA doubling time, which is the rate at which their PSA levels doubled, indicating how quickly the cancer was growing. Before consuming pomegranate juice, their average doubling time was 15 months. After starting pomegranate juice, this extended to an impressive 54 months. While the cancer was still present, its growth had slowed significantly. Some men continued drinking pomegranate juice for years, maintaining stable PSA levels and avoiding the need for more aggressive treatments. The researchers hypothesized that the anti-angiogenic effects of L-argitannins starve microscopic cancer cells, preventing their expansion. Secondly, L-argitannins nourish a specific type of gut bacteria called Akkermansia mucinifila. This is one of the most crucial bacteria in your gut for cancer prevention. Akkermansia resides in the mucus lining of your intestines. When you consume L-argitannins from pomegranate, they travel to your colon and stimulate your gut to produce more mucus. Increased mucus provides a more favorable environment for Akkermansia to thrive. Why is this significant? Akkermansia communicates with your immune system through the intestinal wall, sending signals that activate your cancer-fighting immune cells. Studies involving cancer patients undergoing immunotherapy, treatments designed to unleash the immune system against cancer, have revealed that patients who respond well, meaning their immune systems successfully target the cancer, consistently have high levels of Akkermansia. Conversely, patients who do not respond often lack this particular bacteria. When researchers transferred Akkermansia from responding patients to non-responding patients, a remarkable change occurred. These patients suddenly began responding to their immunotherapy treatments. This single species of bacteria made a critical difference, influencing the outcome of treatment. How can you increase your Akkermansia levels? Pomegranate is one of the most effective methods. The recommended dose is 8 ounces of pomegranate juice daily. Ensure it is 100% juice, not a fruit cocktail with added sugars. Pure pomegranate juice has a tart flavor. If it's too intense for you, dilute it with water. 4 ounces of juice mixed with 4 ounces of water. Drink this daily. You can also eat the seeds, which are delicious, sprinkled on salads, added to yogurt, or eaten by the handful. One pomegranate typically contains about 3/4 of a cup of seeds. Consuming one pomegranate every few days or drinking 8 ounces of juice daily will provide the necessary L-argitannins. Within a week, you'll start to notice shifts in your gut bacteria composition, and within a month, your Akkermansia levels can increase substantially. Now, let me provide you with a practical protocol that incorporates all 5 of these beneficial foods. This plan is based on the existing research and my own clinical experience working with patients. Begin your morning with green tea. Aim for 2 cups with breakfast, using the proper brewing method I previously described. Let it steep, allow it to cool slightly, and drink it slowly. Mid-morning, enjoy a snack of papaya, 1 cup of fresh or frozen chunks. If you're still feeling hungry, you can add a small portion of nuts or seeds for some added protein. For lunch, include either broccoli sprouts or cooked broccoli, making sure to consume the stalk. You could have half a cup of sprouts on a sandwich or in a salad, or enjoy 1 cup of steamed broccoli as a side dish. Mid-afternoon, have another cup of green tea. By this point, you will have consumed 3 cups, reaching the therapeutic daily dose. For dinner, incorporate purple potatoes into your meal rotation. Whether baked, roasted, or prepared as the soup I mentioned, make them a regular feature. If you're aiming for the resistant starch benefits, allow them to cool completely before serving and then gently reheat them. Before bed, have 8 ounces of pomegranate juice, diluted with water if you prefer a milder taste. This gives your gut bacteria a full night to process the L-argitannins, feeding your Akkermansia while you sleep. Here are some of my key takeaways from 3 decades of clinical practice. Firstly, consistency is far more important than intensity. Consuming these foods just once will not bring about significant change. However, eating them daily, week after week, and month after month is when you will begin to observe their protective effects. Your immune function will gradually improve, inflammation will subside over weeks, and Akkermansia populations will build up over the course of a month. This approach is about establishing a sustainable lifestyle, not seeking a quick fix. Secondly, opt for frozen options when fresh produce is unavailable or too expensive. Frozen papaya chunks, frozen broccoli, and even frozen pomegranate arils are perfectly acceptable. Often, they are frozen at their peak ripeness, which helps them retain their beneficial compounds, better than fresh produce that has been stored for extended periods. Thirdly, if you are currently undergoing active cancer treatment or are in treatment, it is essential to inform your oncologist about your intention to incorporate these foods into your diet. None of these foods have been shown to interfere with standard cancer treatments. In fact, research suggests they may enhance the effectiveness of treatments, particularly immunotherapy. However, it is crucial that your doctor is aware of everything you are consuming. Fourthly, these foods are most effective when they are part of a broader anti-inflammatory diet. Simply eating these 5 foods while continuing to consume processed meats, fried foods, and excessive sugar would be counterproductive, like taking 1 step forward and 2 steps back. Make these foods the foundation of your diet, and then build upon that with other whole, unprocessed foods such as fish, nuts, seeds, olive oil, and a variety of other vegetables. Fifthly, let's address the elephant in the room. What if you have already been diagnosed with cancer, or if your diagnosis is advanced? Are these foods still relevant? Absolutely, but it's important to have realistic expectations. These foods are not a substitute for conventional cancer treatment. If you have a tumor that requires surgery, proceed with the surgery. If your oncologist recommends chemotherapy or radiation, take their recommendations seriously. However, these foods can be integrated into your treatment plan. Research indicates that they can enhance the efficacy of conventional treatments, mitigate side effects, and potentially help prevent recurrence. I have worked with patients who combined aggressive conventional treatments with these dietary strategies, and their outcomes were consistently superior to those who relied solely on conventional methods. They experienced a better quality of life during treatment, fewer adverse effects, and in many cases, longer survival rates. One final point that needs addressing is fear. If you are watching this because you have received a cancer diagnosis, or if a loved one has been diagnosed, it is completely natural to feel scared. Cancer is a terrifying prospect. However, fear can be paralyzing, and paralysis is the enemy of progress. This is what I consistently tell my patients. You possess more control than you might realize. You may not be able to control the cancer you currently have, but you absolutely can control what you put into your body starting today. Every cup of green tea you drink is actively engaging your immune system. Every serving of broccoli is working to starve microscopic tumors. Every glass of pomegranate juice is nurturing the beneficial bacteria that communicate with your cancer-fighting immune cells. These are tangible actions with measurable biological impacts. You are not helpless. The scientific evidence is clear. Individuals over the age of 60, those who have already been diagnosed with cancer, and those with genetic predispositions to cancer can all benefit from incorporating these foods. A study from Harvard tracked over 50,000 men for 2 decades. The men who consume the highest amounts of the foods we've discussed, cruciferous vegetables, tea, and fruits rich in carotenoids, experienced a 50% lower overall cancer mortality rate compared to those who consumed the lowest amounts. A 50% reduction is a profound effect, representing the difference between life and death for many individuals. These aren't obscure superfoods from remote regions of the world. Green tea, broccoli, papaya, purple potatoes, and pomegranate are all readily available at your local grocery store. The estimated weekly cost for a supply of these foods is likely between $20 and $30. When you compare this to the substantial costs of cancer treatment, the diminished quality of life, and the shortened lifespan, the difference is incomparable. If you found this information valuable, I urge you to do one thing. Share this video with someone who could benefit from it. A parent, a spouse, a friend. Cancer is projected to affect 1 in 2 men and 1 in 3 women during their lifetime. The knowledge contained within this video has the potential to save a life. Additionally, please check out my next video, where I will be detailing the foods that actually increase your risk of developing cancer. Those hidden dangers present in everyday foods that most people consume without realizing the risks. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Dr. Becker, signing off.